welcome to What If Wednesday. We're going to talk about, I'm Susan Fisher, Susan Bennett Fisher, co-founder of Body of Nine, and this is Martin Fisher.
Hi, co-founder of Body of Nine as well.
Yes, it's the co.
It's the go.
And today we're going to talk about, what if you knew what Susan and Martin experienced?
Because there's a couple of things. First, we love sharing it. Secondly, it helps you understand a little bit about us.
Right.
Thirdly, we've been doing this together over 30 years. So we want to show that our journey to getting to this level of expertise wasn't instant. It's not something we made up. And we worked very, very hard to get here. But the good news is part of getting here was Body of Nine. We actually learned how to make the steps to get here when we learned from other people and when we learned what this is all about. So we want to spend some time on the journey. Why is it important to us? But also how you can benefit from understanding Body of Nine. And we'll talk about how some of the things that we learned are in Susan's first book that's going to be re-released very shortly. And even more, what we learned together is in our current book.
Yes, so this is a journey,
It's
and
a
we
very
are
much a
standing on
journey.
the shoulders of many giants
Yes.
because we didn't discover this.
Didn't discover this.
but
We're observers.
We're observers, and we have really used our observation skills and our experience interacting with people to deeply research the physical aspect of this. And what that translates into is both personal growth that we can share with you so you can stand on our shoulders.
Or you stand with us if you don't want to stand on our shoulders. We're happy to do both. And it's about learning because we
Yes.
both love to learn.
We do.
And as a natural number 5, I've had to learn so many more things, not just about sort of theoretical things like some of the theories about music and how music works, which turned out to be completely unrelated to what we're doing now, but also how to be a better person, how to interact with other people more effectively, how to enjoy interacting with other people. So the learning that has come from the Body of Nine has improved our lives in millions and millions of ways.
Oh, so
and
many,
we believe
countless.
with every one of the over 7,300 people that we've actually worked with. And I used to say that once you've been identified within 6 months to a year, you'll be happier and feel more fulfilled. And nobody has ever come back to me and said that's not true.
Yeah, it acts on you no matter what. So just a quick Body of Nine overview. 9 centers in your body, 3 in the head, 3 in the chest, 3 in the body. And what this, it's your right-handedness. Jamie recently said, well, how would I asked her how she would describe it to a kid. It's like, well, you're born with either right hand or left hand, and your right hand or your left hand is more capable at some level, more coordinated, more powerful.
And while you can learn to use the other hand, it really sometimes feels different.
And it never quite gets to the same level as your other hand.
Because I grew up in a time where people that were left-handed were forced to right-handed. Fortunately, I didn't. My writing's bad in either hand. But my sister and my mother both left-handed. And back in the 50s and 60s, they had a pretty hard time of it.
So you're born with a right-handedness, which is we call your natural number. So your physiology, actually, you're more capable in one aspect of your physiology, and that affects how you grow and develop. So let's get started with our story.
Yes.
Did anything particular happen there?
No, it's just Facebook helping us.
Oh, lovely. We have all these monitors around us, and we get to see all these things, and I'm like, what's alive? That down there is alive, but we have to look up there for the camera. Oh, it's so much fun. So I met Martin at work.
92, I think.
1992,
Yes.
November of 1992. And we liked each other immediately.
Yes.
And we became really good friends. We'd go out to lunch.
Yeah, we started playing bridge.
We had a lot of mutual friends, and we just were that good friends.
Yeah, we both lived and worked in Silicon Valley. I had just spent 4 years at Oracle, where I ran a number of groups. And I was out doing the startup thing and ended up working for Tom Siebel at Gain Technologies. And Susan also started working there. So we spent a fair amount of time getting to know each other.
A couple of years getting to know each other. I had just gotten married at the time, and that was not yet on the rocks. Soon to go there, but not there yet.
Nothing to do with me.
Nope, nothing to do with him. So we lost touch for 13 years.
13 years.
Yeah. And what happened to you during those 13 years?
Well, I was extremely lucky. I ended up working at Yahoo for 4 years, and Yahoo in those days went from, I was the 100th employee. So when I left, there was 10,000. So that's an amazing amount of growth. And I was lucky enough to be able to follow my passion, which is also flying. And so I spent 3 or 4 years flying. Then I was back doing software development again. And I was in England for my parents' 50th anniversary, and my intuition said, I need to get in touch with a friend of mine who, as it turns out, was quite sick.
Yes. And she was also a friend of mine. And she and I had said, we had worked with her actually at Gain together. So for me during those years, I had 3 children. I got divorced. I went through some dramatic changes, and I had made the decision as a result of my personal situation, which was not good. Back in 2002, I decided to become a life coach, and I did a leadership training program through the Coaches Training Institute. And the identification of the group's natural number, not called that at the time, but we're going to use our terminology for consistency. I found out that I was a 6. And it was just so empowering and so enlightening. And when I first got a sense of the power in my body through that experience, I knew that this was my calling, that I had found the thing that I had been looking for, because I've always been a seeker. You've always been a seeker too. It's been kind of part of who we are. And as a seeker, I had always been looking for, because there's a sense of something more, something significant, something important about what I was brought here to do. And I've always had that since, early on. If you read our book, the story of my first sense of that is in the book. And so is yours. So I went through this whole curriculum and was drawn into the community of people that was exploring this, called New Equations. The initial observation and discovery of the physiological aspect of this was done by the co-founders of New Equations.
Yeah, and they stood on the shoulders of the people that did the Enneagram, because they looked at the Enneagram and used that as part of their bucketing system.
That plus some martial arts exercises were what revealed the first glimmers of the differences. And they researched it, and I joined their team in 2003 and worked side by side with that community of people for 9 years.
And I got back in touch with Susan in 2008. 2007. Yes. Yeah, 8 was when we got married. Yes.
Yeah.
And so from 2007 till when we actually went public with this body of 9, as it was 9 energies then, in 2012, there was a lot of things going on. And part of my 5ness was what I knew and understood the power in this. So what we'd like to do now is actually show you something that's really intimate for us.
Yeah, and it's a special moment. I had the it's incredible that we have this video, but it's me identifying Martin in 2007, shortly 3 weeks after we got reconnected, and it was probably the true moment of our union. Yeah.
So if we're ready, let's watch it.
And is there sound?
There's not really much sound, but we can talk through it.
So my daughter Phoenix is on video. At the time she was 12. She was already an expert videographer. And this is me working with Martin. There are physical postures associated with the natural numbers.
And this is one of the ones that we actually sometimes use, although when I'm actually identifying people, we don't use this posture. I use a very different posture. But the idea and the concept is still the same.
Yeah, so each of us has a posture in which we are activated. And in this video, you see me activating Martin for the first time.
Yes.
It's the first time Martin began to understand. Now watch his face carefully as he comes up.
It's at that moment that I understood that all the bucketing and all the frameworks and all the, what they call at the time, the map that I had, this was why I was the way I was.
Yeah. And here you can see me working with his body, helping him access more and more the power from above that comes into his body. And he's taking it in and experiencing that power in his body for the first time. The power from above and how to bring it in. As you can see, he's gotten a lot more handsome since then, too. Not that he wasn't cute. I've always thought my husband was the most handsome man in the world.
And I like that, because who doesn't want to be thought the most handsome in the world?
So we had that moment together.
Yeah.
I think that's probably enough. And that started our relationship. It cemented the beginning. And from then, we've explored together, pretty much side by side.
And one of the things about a natural number 5 is that very few things are actually completely black or white. And I had this experience. I realized that I was at the 65, 70% place, that this is really, really important. But there were some things that didn't quite sit with me. And it took basically 3 or 4 years before I was at the level of understanding what it needed to be comfortable taking out of the world. And so between 2007 and 2012, Susan was still working with those guys. And I was on the periphery. I was helping them out, helping build websites, all those things. And then in 2012, we went to Burning Man.
Yeah. Us 7 led us to our future.
Yes.
Our dear friend Carla.
We were at a meeting and Natural Number 7 said, it's time you guys went to Burning Man. And we said, you know what? Yeah, it is.
All right, let's get brave, we said.
And we rented a small RV, something ridiculous like 18 feet or something tiny. And there were 4 of us in it. Susan and I, Natural Number 5, Natural Number 6, and 2 Natural Number 4s. And Natural Number 4 is so much about being your authentic self. And for the entire drive out there, I could hear the conversation, well, why aren't you doing this, Susan? Why aren't you jumping into what it is that you know that you can do? Because, Susan and I would work with some people in the past, and we'd had a couple of really spiritual experiences. There was one time when Susan was working with someone who's Natural Number 2, and I felt the source of spirit coming through Natural Number 2, and we kept working because we weren't very good at the time. But I recognized at the time the impact that pulling in the right natural number has to the spiritual environment in which you're working. So we went to Burning Man.
And to the person in their body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we went to Burning Man. And one of the fun things about Burning Man, certainly in those days, was you could be whoever you wanted to be. There was complete anonymity. And I went trying to decide who it is that I wanted to be. What was my purpose in life? Well, 2 things happened. Firstly, I realized that who I wanted to be was me. Yes, that was awesome.
I was kind of relieved.
So was I, as it turns out. But secondly, I found that supporting Susan, what I could do was support Susan in what she was doing. She is the expert in the hand-to-hand, the body-to-body, the visual, working close up with somebody. But as an observer from this side, I was able to help identify and feel what was going on energetically around them, put up an energetic bubble, part of my 5ness, the protector, the warrior. And at the same time, I could talk and teach and feel what is it that people needed to learn about themselves. So our partnership very soon, very quickly, even in the first couple of days of Burning Man, became Susan was doing the physical and leading people into the relationship. And then I was doing the talking and filling my map, filling the framework that I have about every natural number. And so between the 2 of us, even though we started in 2012 with 56-ish some people, by the time we'd gone back, we missed a couple of years. By the time we last went, which was in 2016, I think, 17,
was our last year,
we were working with 1,000 people in a week, which was hard work, but it was so much fun.
It was. And for me, it was physically hard. But because of that level of repetition, 100 people a day, 10 of every natural number, I began to be aware of the subtle nuance and very specific micro movements, micro expressions, physiological arrangement of the bodies, the way people moved. I would see them do the same things. If they had the same natural number, they would do the same things over and over again. And so that taught me what it looks like, what these natural numbers look like in the world.
And when you've talked to 7,000 people, 1,000 roughly of each of the same natural numbers, you know what resonates. When you're talking to someone, you can see that you're getting through, or they're resonating, or they will tell you about their reality. So
we distilled very specific language and very specific ways of talking to people because of this super deep listening and repeating and verifying.
The 2 of us together have worked as a partnership with people for getting on 10 years. We've talked to well over 7,000 people. We've identified huge numbers of others.
60 plus nationalities.
60 plus nationalities.
At least 15 races.
Yep.
If there
From pretty much every continent except Antarctica.
Yes. And everybody's got a natural number. And it crosses race, it crosses gender, It crosses culture. It crosses nationality. You have more in common with somebody of your same natural number than you do with anybody in your family. And this was so powerful.
Yeah, because the numbers don't repeat in families, which means that to some extent, we don't have as much of a community as we think we do. I think people are looking for community. I think people are looking for belonging. And if nothing else, you belong with 1/9 of the population.
Well, I want to change belong. You and 1/9 of the population are here to do something specific, that all of it's part of community. The 9 need to come together to create community that is functional. When we bring all 9 energies together, especially consciously, everything gets a lot easier because each person's doing that job.
Yeah.
You have a unique and special
We
contribution.
kind of thought that when you got all 9 people together, it would get really exciting or really big and amazing. As it turns out, it's really amazing. But it's very calm.
It's very
and
calm.
the ability that we gained very early on in the late 2011, maybe that's why we could do what we did in 2012, is the ability to access and activate all 9 in our bodies.
Yes. And this activation has been a huge part of our development, our personal development. In order to learn to activate each of the natural numbers, you have to learn to let go of yourself and move into another sensory perception. So it's like 9 brand new senses. And like if you had been blind your whole life and all of a sudden you could see, you have to learn to make sense of what those signals to your brain. And the same thing is true for the natural numbers. When you activate a new sensor, you get all this flood of information that you're not used to making sense of.
And there actually is an exercise that I used to do, which can be kind of scary, and that is actually to turn off your natural number without replacing it with anything else. And if I turn off my 5, I can't function. So letting go of something to move into a new natural number, it's a scary thing. Because as you saw, I just turned off my 5 and I was just there. That was all that I could do. I wasn't really even being, because I had nowhere to process. All I knew is that I needed to get back into myself to be able to start going. So it's a very scary step. And one of the things that we realized very early on in Susan's first book is that you have to make some wise decisions. And it can be scary.
Yes.
You need to be brave.
But the first step is getting identified. So finding out, where is your power? How do you use it?
What is your personal magic?
What are the components and the how you move? How do you implement this in performance? So you learn all about yourself. That's that we spent years learning about ourselves.
And we still are.
We still do. That's true.
This is not a closed room. We just keep learning.
Yes. And then you start to learn about the others, because in order to get yourself, you have to get the context. The others are so different, and they each have a gift to offer you. So that's been a huge learning for us. So as we've learned to integrate the energies in our body, practice activating them over and over and over again, in the identification process, I have to activate the energy in my body when I'm identifying somebody in order to sense if it's there. I can't tell if the energy's there if I haven't got it active in my own body, because there's a looping response that happens when it's there. And that's one of the things that one of many aspects of identification that I use when I'm trying to figure out someone's natural number. So each of these activations and each of these times we've touched someone and gone deeply into a natural number, we also teach this to groups. It gives you an easy way to get back to using your observer to see, what am I doing? Why am I doing that?
It lets your ego relax, because the ego is very protective. But
Yep.
it doesn't need to be when you are aware of your natural number and the others. It starts being a comrade.
Yes, something that you help to use to explore and to choose, because choice gives freedom. So observe, look at your behaviors, choose your behaviors. Conscious choice now gives you freedom. If you start to think in the world about we've all suffered from belief systems that we picked up along the way.
And there is an element of the carrying a really heavy belief system. I've been carrying this belief my entire life. I actually quite like carrying this really heavy belief, and it's going to be difficult for me to give up. But that's the point.
Well, that you choose.
It's a
Like,
choice.
what am I putting in my backpack? I'm
Right.
not, not.
Yeah, let's
I got
take
15 pounds of
junk.
of rocks back there that I only need 2 pounds of.
And you may be a hero for carrying some of that 15, but the other 13, not so much.
Not so much. And so it's that choice so that you can go through life without self-imposed suffering.
Yes. And there's a lot going on in the world that makes one believe that there is, there is suffering everywhere. And it is not all self-imposed. There are, however, things that you can do for yourself that help.
At least get rid of the stuff that is self-imposed, right? We pick up, so your natural number is your nature. You're born with this. And through life, we develop our, through our nurture,
Habits.
ways of coping.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the personality systems come from. This takes you back to the core of who you are, what you were born with, and reignites that magic within you so that you can start to lead from there instead of from the places of unconscious belief systems.
When we're younger, we have all these fun imaginary things that we feel that we can do. Can we fly? Can we teleport? What is it that we believed that we wanted to do when we were kids? And as we grow up, we don't believe anymore.
We lose our connection to that
wonder, that awe, that
yeah,
magic.
and that belief in that it's something bigger within us.
And so we start to believe that we can't do things. And part of the mantra, one of the many things we learned at Burning Man very, very early on, the first year was, don't disbelieve because there's magic and choose love.
And it's not about you.
The three things, yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that, it's not about you is just recognizing that you're part of humanity.
You're a part of humanity.
You're 1/9. You can build your skills to bring all 9 into your body. We believe that that's kind of the next place of evolution for humanity, actually.
If you can have all 9 active in your body, where can you go next? If you can look at your personal magic as what is personal to you and don't disbelieve, and you can grow. We had an amazing experience with a woman the other day who, natural number 6, and she has so embraced her personal power, her personal magic, that we were blown away. It was such an exciting time.
It was so great to see what someone who's embraced the fullness of their gift in a really unique way can do in their lives.
Yeah, we've been lucky to work with many, many people who are lucky enough, but depending on what kind of guidance you believe in, to have found things that fit their natural number.
Right.
And knowing their natural number really makes what they do even that much more powerful. They say it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at anything. And I will say, though, if you can play the piano, you can put in 10,000 hours versus someone that doesn't play the piano, you're still going to be better after 10,000 hours. You may both be good, but the people that have the internal flair of who they are have been doing their entire lives without knowing.
Yeah, you've been doing your thing. But when you bring consciousness to it, now it supercharges. It supercharges because you have confidence in it, you know how to access it through your body, and you can explore beyond what your current belief system tells you can do.
And you know that some of the things and the way you respond, it's not something that's broken in you, it's something that's built into you. It's actually an honoring, powerful gift, not a pain in the whatever.
Yes. And that takes us back to the topic, like, where did we go? So we went to Burning Man and we worked with thousands of people. We moved to Bozeman, wrote our first book, continued to work. And then with the pandemic, we had to take it another level. We had to figure out how to do it virtually without being able to be with you in a room, looking you in the eye and pushing on your shoulders. And so that brought our skills to a whole nother level. Our observational skills and our ability to try to create an energetic connection virtually.
Which, as it turns out, you can do.
You can do it.
It's, yes, not as powerful as a physical connection, but it's darn close.
Yes. And we know we're going to return to our physical work because it's truly, if you want to learn to activate all 9 in your body and really get it, you need to do that. You need to be in a room with people that understand how to do that. And we'll get back to that.
We will. Probably before the end of 2021,
right.
certainly in 2022.
But ironically and weirdly, COVID has been a gift to us.
Unfortunately, for many it has not, but for us, we were one of the lucky few.
It stopped us from distractions, refocused us on this virtual way of identifying, which enables us to identify anybody anywhere in the world now. So anybody anywhere can get their natural number activated.
Yeah, there is a reasonable fair chance that sometime in the next 3 or 4 months we will start doing physical activations again, at which point we'll be in touch and let you know.
And then we wrote our second book. And our second book is a detailed detailed explanation of all the natural numbers, everything we know about them as of last October. We're continuing to learn more, so there's more since, but it's 30 pages on every natural number. What do we know about them? What the physiology is? How they stand, move, what they care about, how they use their eyes, everything that we know.
How would they like to have been raised?
Yes, how they would have liked to how to support them. So it's an amazing resource for people who've been identified. Some people have successfully self-identified using the book, but that's not necessarily.
It's not
its
the
purpose.
majority.
No, it's not the majority, and it's not its purpose. We really encourage people to have the identification experience because there's an activation aspect to it. When I got identified, it turned on a power within me and gave me a conscious access point to it. And that's what you get when you get identified. You get a conscious access point to the power within you.
It's a simple-ish process. It takes about 45 minutes to start, and you'll get an immediate response. We will tell you what our natural number is and tell you what hundreds of people like you have told us what it's like to be here.
And then you can read the website, you can read the books, you can come back for more. And we will be adding a subscription channel very soon, which will have all sorts of supporting materials for you learning your journey. And we will get back to in person, or at least in virtual opportunities to continue and explore and learn more, because we recognize the importance and the power of staying with this work. The more energy and attention we've put into it, the bigger the impact in our lives. I got all my kids identified when back in 2003, and it changed completely how I parent them. We really encourage parents to learn this about themselves and each other as a couple and as parents, because it allows you to support your children and understand their behavior through their lens, not yours. And there's no substitute for that, as far in my experience. So the benefits to us in our lives have been a much deeper relationship, an ability not to kill each other when we get off track. Recover quickly. Very quickly. Sometimes we have knockdown, drag out fights just like any couple, but as soon as they're done, they're done. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another part of it for us. So better relationships, deeper connection, a deep understanding of what the other person needs for ourselves, our children, our family in general, and all of the people that we work with. I think people like working for us.
Mm-hmm. And with us.
And with us.
We like working with people.
Oh, so much fun. I really miss that. Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting back in a room with people. I've had the opportunity to do 4 or 5 in-person identifications over the last month, and it reminded me how much fun it is. Mm-hmm. So this work is fun. It is mind-blowing. It is fully transformational. It's a context for understanding everything that exists in the world.
And yourself.
And all your relationships. And it's also a modality to learn to be more effective with others, and to so you grow as your relationships grow and as everything around you improves. We really love doing this with you guys. We hope that you've enjoyed hearing a little bit about our story. There's more to come. More story. Yes. And we're pretty excited about what's coming next.
And we'll talk to you guys again next Wednesday.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.